Welcome to another episode of Give It a Nudge. Today we are welcoming Ben from GroupBuyer. What an awesome business and concept this is. I think everyone is going to enjoy seeing this. And we've got some offers for you around this too, so it's going to be super exciting. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. Good to be here.
So why don't we start by, before we go into your history and how you got here, why don't you give everyone a very quick snapshot of exactly what GroupBuyer, I mean it's pretty obvious, but let's quote it up for them. What does GroupBuyer do?
So, GroupBuyer, we essentially just group you per your buying criteria. So you might be a property buyer or investor.
Yep.
We will group you per your buying criteria and then put you forward to a property developer where we can negotiate a bulk saving for you.
And it's residential only, right, at this stage. Who knows where it goes, but right now, residential only.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just
and residential, but also just new homes. So we don't do second-hand stock, existing stuff. We do project. So we're working with property developers.
Units or houses though? Both, right? Both units and houses?
We don't at the moment. We could get into house and land, but we're just focusing on apartment blocks. So
okay, cool.
Medium to high density stuff.
All right. And it's been going how long now?
4 years.
4 years. Cool. So before we get back through that journey, which I know a little bit about, let's just talk about you because you've had a fascinating history. So give me a quick sort of rundown on how you ended up starting this business. And
I'll fast track it for you. So GroupBuyer started in just before COVID, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Before that, I had sold my real estate franchise, which was a First National franchise in Manly Beach.
Yep.
I'd sold that into the McGrath network, so I did a deal with John McGrath, and he basically absorbed my business and reinvented the Manly McGrath brand.
Yep.
So I worked with him for a short time, well, about 3 years, and then I had then I divorced,
Yep.
and I thought, you know what, I just need a change. So I went out of Manly. I left Manly from working in Manly for 15, 16 years or something. I left Manly and I went out to the Norwest, believe it or not. I just ended up working for a property developer out in the Norwest.
Right, big change.
It was a big change. People were like, why the fuck are you coming out here from Manly? You know?
Yep.
Just for me at the time, that's just what I wanted to do. I grew up in Penrith anyway, so I'm a Westie. But I ended up in the Norwest working for a property developer. And only for a year, up until I was made redundant, I'm working for these property developers. And as I'm working for them, I'm hearing them say to me, Ben, bring me groups of buyers and I'll give them all a discount.
Mm-hmm.
Bring me groups of buyers and I'll give them all a discount. And I think I just heard that one too many times.
Yep.
I'm like, fuck, that sounds like I'd love to do that. It's harder to do than you think, though. Easier said than done.
Absolutely. Everything always is.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, wow, if we could only just find 10 or 20 of the same type of people, they could be from anywhere in the country. If we could only just find them, if I just knew them, I could just call them all up and say, hey, you want to buy an apartment in this area, in this particular block off this particular developer. So I've got 19 other people who want to do the same thing. How about we go to the developer as a group? So that's kind of how it all started. And as I said, I was made redundant from that job. So It was at that time where I'm like, I've got nothing else to lose. I'm going to give it a nudge.
Yeah.
Good.
Love it.
So GroupBuyer was born and we made some, I'll say we now. I say we, it's not a me business, it's a we business. But at the time it was only me. And I got robbed, ripped off, I made so many wrong decisions. And I think it was at that time of COVID as well. So, business was not really good for the first year or two.
No.
Admittedly. It was a change in, everyone was freaking out, lockdowns, time after time. The whole economy changed, but...
And you had some shocking founder moments. I remember you mentioned to me, obviously you wanted to build some sort of software around this, right? And you went to a software developer. How much did you give them? And did they just disappear, or did they not?
I won't mention names.
Don't mention names. Give us a little bit of what happened.
Yeah. Well, so I've got a big vision, and GroupBuyer, what you know of it today is just we're scratching the surface. This can go much bigger than what it is today.
Yep.
However, I've sat down with a few different software developers at the time I didn't know anything about software development.
Yep.
I'm not a techie. And I ended up going with this guy from the Gold Coast, and he had his own business. And he believed in the vision. You know, he flew down, he got the ferry down the river to my place, sat in my living room, face to face like this, and just when I told him what my vision and what we're going to do with GroupBuyer, he was just like, "This is brilliant. I'm in." You know, convinced me to give him $104,000 to build this.
That's a lot of money.
Well, for me at the time, it definitely was.
It's a lot of money for anyone.
I mean, even now, it still is.
It's also a very specific amount of money, 104.
Well, the scope of works, it came to 104,350 or whatever it was, right? 103,450, 100 grand, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. But this was like to execute on the dream.
Yeah.
You know, this was to like for me to have a fully fledged, you know, developer login, agent login, buyer login, profile set up. This is, you know, people just creating profiles in my app or whatever it is, platform, being matched with like-minded investors and then being put forward to a development project where there's a group discount negotiated and ready to purchase individually.
So it's almost self-service, right? This is the whole thing. You go on,
Yeah.
bang, you register, you almost buy the property then and there, right? It's just, it's the dream. 100 grand.
Yeah,
house
so
in
in 9 months, I guess, you know, I'm like, you know, where are we up to? What are we doing? I'm being told at the same time, Ben, you won't see 99% of this until it's, you know, well, you won't see any of it until we're 99% of it, like the built kind of thing, you know? I'm like, really? Like, okay. So yeah, long story short, he got me. He got me good.
Did he just disappear?
I think he's still in practice, but he was a bit of a grey nomad. Like, anyway, my decision. Then I had a shareholder come in and I had to sell 10% of my company to raise 100 grand, right? Yep. I needed another 100 grand. And, you know, not stupidly, but funnily, I went and did a similar thing the second time, and I invested $60,000 to $70,000 with a second software development company from the Philippines, and they did produce a fairly good product for me at the time, but it kept breaking. So all this custom shit, you know, like they sell you this. It needs to be custom, and I'm like, fucking hell, like just get back to basics. So that was my first year, then second year. We're still in COVID. Year like the third year. Now we're at year 4. I'm just getting the hang of this shit.
Yep. I love the fact that you go to this developer in the Gold Coast, you get ripped off for 100 grand, and then you go, you know what? I'll go to the Philippines. That's a brave choice after you've just had a terrible experience.
Well, I'm leaning on people for referrals, right? Like I'm asking, after I've just burnt 104 grand, plus 9 months, right? It's the best part of a year.
Yeah.
I'm chewing into my own savings. So it didn't just cost me 104.
Yeah.
It cost me about 200 grand.
So when he said to you, you're not going to see 99% of it, he should have just stopped right there, right? Because you never saw 99% of it.
Well, he said, you're not going to see anything until we are 99% of the way built, right? And I'm like, oh, is that what custom software development is? Okay. Anyway,
you've got a platform now though, right? You've got one.
I've got thank you to HubSpot. You know, I'll shout out to HubSpot. They're a massive machine, and you know, we're using their website services as well. So we've got custom coding on top of, you know, a templated site through HubSpot, but all the bells and whistles that are attached to our CRM and CMS, but you know, with still a lot more scope to do all the workflow automations and stuff like that, sequencing. So like, yeah, there's we're just using it for what we need at the moment. As we grow, we will continue to upgrade with them. But yeah, look, the whole I just learned so many lessons, and they're so expensive.
Yeah.
As well. I wish I didn't, but
you know what?
Kind of like I just sort of cop it on the chin now and go, well, I am who I am, and I know what I know now because of all of my fuck ups.
And all the people watching this show now know what you know now. Just didn't cost them as much money.
Yeah, so
I know you're passing it on, right?
I recall putting out a post like, you know, after all that shit happened like once or twice, so much money, and I was like, hey guys, if you ever want to like talk about building a website, just give me a ring first. Like, you know, let me tell you my story.
So where are we now? So how many projects have you done so far? You've done 1, 2?
Well, we've done several, but the last one was our first real success, and that's kind of what we've been talking about. It was Q4. Yeah. We basically listed a project in Brisbane.
Yeah.
So it's an area or city of interest for us, you know. we're continuing to work in there as well as Perth, in 2024. However, Q4 last year, yes, we did a deal with 10 property investors who picked up a discount as well. It was a package deal, so we did a group deal for these 10 investors, and they saved quite a bit, and they got an all-round package which they were very excited about. And obviously it's a good development, and we'll have some a lot of growth as well. It was an off-the-plan project,
yep.
So we like that strategy. In addition to the saving that we can help our investors get through the group buying model, we like the off-the-plan as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it ties in nicely. It creates just a massive no-brainer. So people are not only required to put down a 10% deposit and wait 2 or 3 years, which in a rising market they can make equity, right?
Yeah.
But they're going to get that product not at retail, they're going to get it at wholesale. So they're just miles.
So what are we talking there in discounts? Now, give me. I mean, I know it's different for everyone, right?
But up to 10%.
Up to 10% off. What sort of price are we talking about here?
800 to $1 million. So our sweet spot is around like 2-bedroom units,
yep.
800 to $1 million
yep.
in Brisbane at the moment. Obviously, you can't get that in Sydney. Not if it's brand new. Not if it's off the plan.
Yep.
Certainly not back in my old, stomping ground in Manly.
No chance.
I was selling like 20-year-old 2-bedroom units for over $2 million 10 years ago in Manly.
That's wild.
So I've shifted from the blue ribbon kind of real estate stuff, which is there's only 500 transactions in Manly a year, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to do that a month, helping investors and first home buyers, I guess, but we kind of focus on the investor. So if you're a first time investor, a second time investor, or somebody kind of the early stages where you want to build your portfolio, this is, well, at any stage of your investment journey, this is the best way to do that, the fastest way to get ahead. If you can get in for less than retail, right, you're going to make up some cash there, plus if you buy off the plan.
So you've got your 2-year rising market, you've got your discount, and you're coming in at wholesale. You've got 3 potential things there that by the time you even settle, you're already way ahead, right?
Yeah. Like we're predicting our guys from our last project, because obviously we haven't been in the market long enough to see a whole campaign from exchange to settlement, which off the plan could be 3 years. So,
yeah.
But our last project, we're predicting these guys to make around $300,000 in capital gain on their $1 million purchase, so about 30%, which is 10% per annum in the Brisbane property market, plus the equity or the saving.
By settlement.
By settlement in 2026.
$300,000 before they've even taken.
It's massive.
That's great.
It's massive, and that's just the off the plan thing. So we have to be careful, or I have to be careful, being I guess I'll make the last call on the project. Who is the developer? Yep. What are they building? What's their track record? What's their funding? Looking like, quality, all that kind of shit, right? So I'll make the last call on that as to what we put forward to our group. But I listed that last project first, and then I went and collected, or found, or the 10 buyers to put towards that. What we're doing now, though, as our next project in our current campaign, which we're calling Group 100.
Is there a reason for that?
There is. we're going big, right? So we've tested this model, this shit on a small scale. 10 buyers, that's good. We know it worked. We knew it worked anyway. We had 1,200 people sign up to our platform in the first month that we finally got HubSpot going.
Yep.
So now, we just think there's no real limit to what we can do. And if we can get 100 buyers, imagine the discount potential or the negotiating power that we can get for 100 purchases or sales to the developer versus 10.
Could be a whole development even.
It could be the entire profit margin from a property developer.
Yeah.
Right? They're running at 25%, give or take. So if you're a buyer, or one of my 100 buyers with Group 100 campaign, which is running now, this month, March, it ends on the 31st, so get in now. But if you're one of my buyers, eyeballing a potential, up to 20%, or let's call it dollar saving, right? Up to $100,000 or something like that, that's a massive head start.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the beautiful thing about this is, whilst we act like a buyer's agency, we don't charge any of our buyers. We are a free service, we always will be, to the property buyers out there. So we're not even in competition with the buyer's agents.
So basically, as the buyer, you're getting the discount, you're getting the benefit. You're also going with 100 people, which also means from a point of view of if there's anything around the development that needs to be sorted out, you've got 100 buyers. It's not just, oh, there's a big developer, he's done this massive development. You've got a problem with your unit, you might want to talk to him about it. You've got 100 people that you're almost in this huge, strong position with that developer. Yeah. And then I guess if it all works out well, obviously you can choose to live in it or invest in rent it out.
Yeah.
You can do another one, and you can do another one, and you can really grow that way, and probably grow a relationship with the developers as well, where you're almost building to spec.
Oh, look, we will do. At the moment, because we're a bit small, there's only a few of us still in the team, and we manage it okay. But I think as we grow a little bit, the goal will be to be doing one of these groups a month. So
it's 100 a month.
Whether it's 100 sales or 100 purchases, helping 100 investors a month or every other month, that will be the goal from here. And it doesn't always have to be 100. We might run a campaign and get 50 or 80 or 70 or whatever.
Yeah.
But the buying power is still there, you know. Like I talk about this scenario, right? There's two scenarios. You're one buyer on your own. You go into the development display suite, right? And you talk to the agent in there, and you say, "Hey, I'm here. You know, my name's Ben. I want to buy a property. I like the look of apartment 408. What's the price?" You know, and they say, you know, look at their run sheet, their list price. That's the price, you know. And you ask them if they've got can I get a discount or something like that? And they're like, no, mate. Like you
not really.
You're one buyer, you're one sale to us. We couldn't care less, to be honest. Yeah. Right? That's what it's like, right? Yeah. But then the next day, that same buyer, I'm Ben, I'm back here, but I brought 10 of my mates, and we're all going to buy a property each from you. What's the price?
Yeah.
They just lock the front door and say, sit down, we'll do a deal.
Yeah.
See, people don't know about this shit. People don't know it's possible.
Well, I think they probably know, but where do you go and get 10? What's the chances you've got 10 friends who all want to buy?
So even if they know, that's the hard thing, and that's why we've had to we've actually built a business specialising in grouping our buyers, right?
Yeah.
And it's not easy, but once we sort of started to get traction, it became easier for us. Now I can go and group half a dozen people like tonight if I want on a project.
Yeah.
So my next thought was, well, like half a dozen is good, or 10 was great, but what if we had 50 or 100?
It's a lot. That's a big difference, right?
Massive difference. The developer will be hanging off me. Or all of the developers in the country, right? We know all the big developers, all the best ones, and I know who I want to work with.
Yep.
I know the projects that they've got coming up as well. So not only can we get in on a really, really good project, but we get in early on an off-the-plan project. And I'm talking not pre-DA, but like, you know, just DA approved. We are pre-market, pre-public market.
Yep.
So that's an opportunity to pick up not just a discount for a group of buyers, but early bird pricing.
Mm.
So you're getting early bird pricing. The developers, throughout the course of their marketing, their project to retail buyers, increase their prices
as they go,
right, as they sell.
Yeah.
If you're getting in at the start, right, you're making money. And if you're getting early bird pricing and or group buying price, it's a world of difference.
It's awesome.
So look, the vision is bigger than just this. You know, the vision. You know, if you saved, you know, we're helping people save up to $100,000 buying a property, right? Great head start. You know, like maybe, you know, if you saved $100,000, you know, you're probably sort of looking at yourself thinking, well, that's a pretty good that's a pretty good gift. You know, how else could I increase my lifestyle? You know, like that $300,000, you might want to go and buy a car.
I mean, that $100,000 could also be deposited on the next one, right? Because
that's
you're talking about 10% on $1 million property.
That's right. Yeah,
you're ready for the
get in on the first one, and then the model will help you fund the next one and the next one and the next one. Albeit you need the servicing.
Of course,
you need the servicing power.
Let's not forget that. Make that very clear.
But no one's throwing out, you know, you get 100, you get 100, you get 100. You know, I'm not Oprah, right? But I could be.
And tell me, is it a mix of investors and living and people who want to live in those properties as well, or is it all people who want to live?
Look, mostly investors, and I think I attract investors because so far it's been just people who kind of want to be, not like me, but sort of follow me, because they're just like, there's a Facebook friends and contacts or people that I might not have met in person, but they've been around me and in my network for a while. So they're like, Ben, I've been watching you for years. Like
through the whole real estate world, right?
Potentially back in resi, but like, in projects now. GroupBuyer's been putting out quite a bit of stuff lately. People are watching. It's funny that, when you talk about social media, you kind of see very few likes on some posts, and you're like, oh, no one's seeing it. But then, like the other day, I get a past client who I knew from Manly, and he's like, oh, Benny, saw your post about Brisbane. I'm looking to buy an investment property. I'm like, fucking great. Come on in,
I think.
And I went back to that post, and I'm like, did he even like it?
I think people have stopped.
Did he even like my post?
I think they have. I don't like posts really.
I just scroll too now.
Yeah, I don't think that many people can. It's got to be for me to actually double click, and to be honest, I don't look at it that much. I've got to really like it. Like I've got to want that person to know.
Or you got to want to, for me, if I want to see more of that kind of stuff, I double click it so the algorithm works in my benefit. I don't know. I'm into full driving, camping, all that kind of shit. So I try and like that stuff because then it'll show me more of it.
I think the algorithm also looks at how long you look at a picture as well. Like it's not just
it'll check
double click. It's like
do
they pause on that? How long? Are they looking at it for 5 seconds, 10 seconds? It's still getting way too clever. So don't worry about the likes.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question, just for all the other founders out there. It hasn't been an easy journey for you, right? As we sort of touched on. What do you think's the one thing you've really learned in doing this? You're still quite early on, but you've had success. You've got this big goal you're going for now, and I don't see any reason why you're not going to be able to do it. Yeah. What's the biggest change from a low point, which I imagine would have been here's $104,000 and now I don't have a site. Or even when your relationship broke down, or all those kinds of things. How did you cope with that? COVID was there. Geez, there was a lot going on, right? That was it was not an easy time for anyone.
It's been a shit time.
So what have you learned? What do you reckon you've learned about yourself?
Resilience, definitely. That I own that shit. And
did you have that, or do you think you've?
I always have, and it's something that my folks even would just point. Like my dad, he pointed it out not too long ago. He said, "I've never met somebody with so much resilience to you." But I kind of yes, I do have resilience, and maybe I am the sort of typical entrepreneur kind of person. But I don't know. I feel like I've had a bunch of great ideas, in my life that weren't great or didn't end up being great, And then I came across GroupBuyer, and I tell you, I was driving to my day job, like voice notes in the car on my 40-minute journey to my day job.
Not touching your phone though, obviously.
Obviously not
driving.
I was in the cradle. No, I was doing voice notes to myself.
Siri was doing it,
right? Yeah, I was just doing voice notes, and I'm like, right, Ben, GroupBuyer, why won't this work? Why can't it work? I'm just coming up with all these different things, trying to challenge myself on this concept. I'm like, well, no, people aren't going to want to do that, or developers won't want to do this. I'm like, no, I've got an answer for everything. And for 4 months I did that, and I spoke to myself in the car. I mean, I was still employed at that time, selling house and land stuff, right? But I'm like, this is something. It's not my resilience with GroupBuyer. I think it's just the fact that it is an absolute win-win solution. The developers are making bulk sales, right? They don't hate this model. They fucking love this model. I'm a solution for them. I'm somebody they can go to and say, Ben, I need 20 quick sales. I came to the right place, Obviously, the buyers get the win as well. They get the discounted. And I don't really like the word discount, and the developers don't like that word either.
No.
We don't want it to associate with
premium
the product being at a discount product or quality. But at the end of the day, it's a discount, right? Everyone likes a discount. If you could pay wholesale versus retail...
Well, except the person selling. They never like the discount, exactly as you just
But this was what I was about to say. It's still a win for the developer because what they are prepared to trim in prices for a group sale... somewhat offsets, time is money to a property developer,
absolutely.
Right? So if they can sell faster, that offsets the cost to them of trimming their prices.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Of course, absolutely makes sense.
So I mean, they've got construction finance. If it took them Some take a year, right, to
Yeah,
sell a
the
project.
interest on construction finance can be pretty brutal, right?
Yeah.
So if they're getting the deposits in and they're paying that construction finance off, it's
Look, they're spending big bucks. They've got big marketing budgets. They're spending massive coin with REA, domain, all that kind of stuff. They've got in-house sales agents. They've got channel partners, this and that. They're paying out commissions. Like, you know, they've got a shitload of cost.
Yeah.
Right. If there's a solution where overnight they can do 20 sales, 50 sales, 100 sales.
Of course.
No,
I've got one more question for you. Talk to me about the platform. So, you know, we're going to put a link in the chat underneath so people can log in and...
The platform or the campaign that we're running?
Well, both, right? They're both. So we're going to have a link right in there so that people can get involved in this, be part of this 100, right? This Group 100.
Yeah.
So what happens when they click on that link? How's that going to work for them?
So this is the thing. It is free, as I mentioned, right? So it's an expression of interest. So for property investors or home buyers or whatever, people who want to buy a property with us and make some money when you buy, these people for free can register their details.
Yep.
We only take contact details at the moment. We don't necessarily need.
And then you'll contact them. What? Call them, email them.
As we build this group, you'll be updated
Yep.
via SMS, email, and obviously, you know, we'll be running updates through our website and landing page that we have at the moment. Throughout the month, you'll get those updates. At the end of the month, we're going to have a number. We hope we're going to surpass 100.
Yep.
EOI. So this is like expressions of interest.
Yes.
So ultimately, we want everybody who comes into this having the intention of wanting to buy something, right?
So what happens if you get 1,000?
If we get 1,000, I know somebody said this to me the other day. Well, great, if we get 1,000, but there's going to be a limit to what a developer will negotiate, right? And that's like I said before, like they're running at maybe a 25% profit margin. So they're not going to give us more than that.
No.
Right? And in most cases, if the development's of any, worth its, salt, they're not even going to give us the whole profit margin. But even like up to 20%, or, if you're saving up near 100 grand or more or something, it's just massive cost.
So really, we need people registering, but we need all their friends registering as well, right? We need everyone registering.
Share it around. I mean, like we increase our buying power by sharing this, right?
Yeah.
It's this whole GroupBuyer is a self-perpetuating marketing model. That's what GroupBuyer is.
Yeah.
If you want to buy a property, tell your friends as well, because when they come in, we're all going to buy together. We increase our buying power, and you get your property cheaper.
Yep. I love it.
It's just like
it is what it says on the t-shirt. It's group buying. It's as simple as that.
That's it. So yeah, watch this space. But the Group 100 campaign will end 31st of March. At that point, if we've got 1,000, or if we've got 100, or if we've got somewhere in between, we're going to work with that group throughout the following month to lock them all down, present the project and the offers. Now we're focusing on Brisbane again because it's a city of interest.
Yep.
For growth, we're focusing off the plan as we discussed. That's the concept. We will be getting offers from likely 2 or 3 property developers who are building in or have upcoming projects in Brisbane. And, I'll be facilitating the whole thing. The buyers registering their interest in this campaign don't need to do anything except for just be prepared to put a deposit on a property if they want to go ahead with that offer.
Yeah.
So the following month after March, April, we will get our offers in for this group of 100 buyers, and that'll be exciting, and everybody, will want to go ahead with it.
Well, we're going to get you back on afterwards to see how this has gone, so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
But look, I so appreciate you coming and being so honest and open about some of the tougher things that you've been through, but 2, obviously not just sharing the story and showing what you're doing, but sharing the fact that you've got this campaign right now is great. So thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
And let's see how it goes.
Can't wait. I'm pumped. Thanks. Give it a nudge.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching the show today, guys. Don't forget to subscribe and check the chat below.